What's going on, motorsports fans? This is Jared here with the bearded garagistas. Always with me is my brother Brett.
How you doing?
And today we're going to recap 2 races before we get into Spain, and we're going to do it right now. All right, so we're going to get into it. We're going to go over Imola and Portugal before we get into this Spain race weekend. We got a few things to go over, and I really want to get some things off my chest. And we kind of compacted. Yeah, well, that's nice. We kind of compacted both of these races into one episode for you because we kind of knew deep down that Portugal was going to blow. So here's our thoughts from Imola and Portugal. We'll start off at Imola, obviously it being the first race that happened, and Verstappen wins in a wet day. I'm getting used to seeing him kind of spin and make little mistakes, and he almost did, but he held on and he raced a solid race. Didn't really make any mistakes in the wet, and I thought he was dominant straight from the get-go. How was your thoughts on Verstappen at Imola, brother?
No, I mean, as impressive as always as he is in the wet. I mean, he just has amazing car control. I mean, some of the things that he can do with that car mid-corner, with everybody saying that Red Bull has a very skittish rear end. I mean, nobody catches slides like he does. And every other car, like, you get a tank slapper the second the engine overtakes you, but not Verstappen. He catches things like that all the time.
What do you think he would be like in a car that handled better than the Red Bull?
Champion?
Really? No doubt. If you put him in a Mercedes?
Champion.
Damn. So from what you've seen, there can be no doubt he would be a champion.
I mean, Lewis, for sure, can always take it to anybody. I mean, Lewis and Max in the same equipment would be the most impressive, battle, I think, in history. Would be Prost Senna level battle.
And we haven't seen a battle like that in a long time. I mean, we had, Hamilton and Rosberg, I guess, was the closest thing to 2 champions kind of taking it to each other, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, and they basically ruined it for the end of time, or at least seemingly now, because Mercedes learned their lesson and they're never going to put 2 number ones in again, and that's why Russell's still not in that seat.
You bunch of pussies.
They just don't want to deal with the headache. We'll get into that when we get to Portimao.
Bro, oh well, come on now. I don't think that was that bad. All right, so we'll talk about the other Red Bull driver, Perez, making a little bonehead of a move, and he kind of spun off during the safety car and then overtook the cars to go back to his position. And let's put aside the fact that he probably should have known the rules. He's been racing a very long time. But why didn't his team tell him, like, hey, you got to give those positions? Like, did nobody on the Red Bull wall know that you can't do that? Like,
yeah, I didn't listen to the onboard, so I don't know what was said to him, but I honestly feel that the Red Bull team kind of lacks, or at least is behind Mercedes in that regard. And that comes into a theory that I have that we're going to talk about later, where Red Bull just kind of drops the ball in those areas and in really helping their drivers understand what's going on at the moment, rules that are going on, rule changes that are going on, how not to get penalized. I mean, unless the race director comes out and says, give the spot back, which is what happened with Verstappen at Bahrain, that was the race director coming on saying he has to give the spot back. And therefore they ordered him to give it back to Hamilton instead of, taking the risk. But I kind of feel like Red Bull's team, whatever setup they have, is behind Mercedes in that regard.
All right, fair enough. I mean, that kind of leads us, that one mistake kind of leads us into another mistake. And even though, and I really feel that this next mistake that we're about to talk about really led to a dominant Portugal race, but Hamilton losing it, going a little too deep, a little too fast into the corner in the wet, putting it in the wall. Still a miraculous, and I don't know about miraculous, I'll say fabulous. I'll give him the credit. It was a fabulous comeback drive to finish where he finished. But when I saw that, I was like, ooh, is Hamilton cracking? Like, is Verstappen's pressure actually getting to Hamilton? And that was the first time I really had that feeling in the last, 3 years?
Well, that's how you beat him. And Rosberg has always been playing on that. When you pressure Hamilton and make him have to think about things, make him to where he's not going into the race thinking about what he wants to think about, but instead thinking about you, right? That's how you beat him. And he just is extremely lucky. And 7-time world champion. Yes, a lot of it is skill, talent, ability, everything, but part of that is luck too. And he just got very lucky that there was a red flag right after that allowed him to make up that lap.
Do you think that the red flag came because of Hamilton?
No. No.
You don't believe in conspiracy theories, brother?
Not listen, am I going to say that some things like that don't happen in F1? Like, come on, let's be real. They obviously do. Look at Renault back in the day, causing, a wreck just to get Alonso a win. Like, things be crazy when you're talking about that much money at stake.
Things be crazy when we're in the hundreds of millions.
Exactly. But no, not like that. And not two Mercedes drivers. Like, hey, we need to help Hamilton. Here, both of you guys take each other out.
And we'll get into that and what caused the red flag. Russell was going to make a move on Bottas. He's going around the right side, and this is my opinion, and I'll tell you how I saw it. I could be completely wrong, so don't, kill me, or I know I'm going to get butchered on social media when people see this, but whatever. Russell is going around the right-hand side, and the reason why the wreck happened, in my opinion, was Bottas moved over to squeeze him. Not maliciously. He moved over a little bit, and I think it spooked Russell because he's not as experienced as most. He's still new to the Formula One ranking, and I feel like it spooked him. And when it spooked him is when he went to the right, touched the grass, came back, and wrecked Bottas. So I don't blame Bottas at all. I think he's going to move over to that way to do that, to spook him, and hopefully he lets off the gas. Russell was just, balls to the wall at that point, was like, I'm going around the outside no matter what. And unfortunately, it didn't work out for him. And that's the way I saw it. Did you see it the same way, or do you feel that, Bottas was the reason, or Russell was the reason? What do you feel?
I feel like it's 100% a racing incident. The way I see it is this: Bottas had all the rights in the world to move over that little bit to get onto the dry line. He was not the one doing the overtake, okay? And Russell got spooked with how fast he was closing, and he moved over to the right more than he had to. And the only reason I know that, now I wouldn't know from one thing or the other. The only reason I know that he moved too far over was a few laps later, Hamilton did the exact same move on Lando Norris. Lando Norris moved to the middle just like Valtteri did, but Hamilton stayed where he was and still made the pass. There was well enough room. Now, the only part of blame that I put on this whole thing is on Valtteri for one little thing. Where are you that you're getting overtaken by a Williams?
All right.
The only thing.
So you blame him, but you're blaming him because he's slow and getting overtaken by a Williams.
Yes.
I didn't see that coming, dude. I was so invested in that story and like the way you were explaining it. I'm like, Valtteri how's he gonna blame Valtteri? Like, it was definitely, if it was anybody's fault, it was Russell's fault. Like, how is he gonna? Oh, I get it. But yeah, I mean, I can agree with you. He definitely shouldn't have been back there, and Imola was a tough race for him for sure. And he actually had some clap back that we posted on our Instagram. Did you see what I posted earlier? Well, what he kind of throwing a little shade, firing some shots over at Red Bull.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so funny.
It was pretty impressive. If anybody is seeing it, people were talking about how Mercedes might drop Bottas in midway through the year, and he said there's only one team in Formula One that does that, and we are not that. So that was pretty. That was a pretty rough little jab, but I liked it. Shows Valtteri's. He isn't just like. He's not a Kimi Räikkönen. He's not going to be somebody who's like cold and show no emotion. When he gets mad, and he's going to show it. But yeah, I mean, that incident for me, if anybody's fault, Russell's. I don't blame him for going over there and flipping out and hitting the cockpit. I actually enjoyed seeing that. It showed me passion. It showed me a driver who wasn't afraid to kind of show some heart. Nowadays, everything is money, and you don't want to do anything. You don't want to show any like bad feeling because of sponsors and with the world that we live in. But I mean, you're doing 200 miles an hour, and you're going to expect not to have any adrenaline in a grown man? No, I don't know if you can call Russell a grown man, but I mean, he's kind of tiny. Well, he's tall but skinny. But you know what I'm saying?
It shouldn't have gone to the media. Like, okay, yeah, I'm totally with you. I was kind of like. And a lot of people thought he was walking over to see if he was okay. Not 1 second did I think he was walking over to see if he was okay.
No, he was pissed.
Like, I knew exactly what that was. But that said, by the time he got to the media pen, he should have controlled himself a little bit more there. And even if he did feel like it was still Valtteri's fault.
He's still a young driver.
He could have talked to him about that later.
He's still a young driver, and I am perfectly okay with a young driver showing some emotion and putting some fire back into the sport. I liked it. Another young man showing some fabulous form. We're going to talk about Norris, and he was just as good in Portugal as he was in Imola. He is. He has scored a top 5 finish in every race so far this season. And
a podium.
And I think he is driving out of his mind right now. I think he is doing phenomenal. Part of me hopes that he's learning it from like being Ricciardo's teammate, because Ricciardo is struggling in the new car. Just plain and simple, getting used to driving that car, getting used to driving a car with a completely different setup. He said he's had to completely change his driving style, and he's been struggling. We saw that in Imola. We saw it in Portugal. I hope it turns around in Spain, but we'll yet to see that. But me being a Ricciardo fan, I'm like, well, now that Ricciardo's on the team, Norris is, doing really well and has really brought up his form. So I want to say it's because of Ricciardo, but I mean, he's just killing it. He is killing it.
Yeah, he is. And I think he made a remark that when they first got to Bahrain, Danny Rick was faster than him in one area, and he basically took that, and then he was able to absorb that into what he was already doing, which allowed him to go faster. So I know that he picked something up from Ricciardo early on, but yeah, I mean, Ricciardo had took some time to get into the Renault as well, and there he went from a Renault power unit, at Red Bull, to Renault power unit. Yes, a new car, new brakes, and it took him time to get that under him. Yes, he still beat Hülkenberg and then Ocon, but he at least still had the same power unit where when he put the throttle down, he was going to get a similar response.
Whack.
Now he's over in McLaren where the car is completely different. The brakes are completely different. And he has a Mercedes power unit behind him where now when he puts that throttle down,
whack.
It's a completely different way of putting the power down.
You know what I'm doing, right? You know the whack thing.
Yes. Yes.
I was just making sure, but yeah, I agree with you. He's definitely got to get used to a completely new car, and somebody else who's doing that and who's having had a blazing start to the season, to his career. You really thought, like, I was like, oh my god, this dude's gonna run away with everything. Has struggled lately, and that's Sonoda. In this race, worked really hard to get to the position that he was in. I can't remember exactly where he was when he spun and put it off the track. Stupid move. Didn't have to be done. It was just a mistake. And, he's a rookie driver. He's going to make those mistakes. You're going to do those stupid things. That's how you learn. But, you know, works really hard to get to where he's going, and then has a pretty bad off, and then he doesn't really follow it up with a very good Portugal race either. So what do you think's going on for Sonoda right now? I know he was on the WTF1 podcast, I want to say today maybe, but what do you think? I didn't get to listen to it yet, but what do you think about Sonoda? Is he starting to slide? Is he in a rookie slump? Is he, are we expecting too much from somebody like him? What do you think? Because Helmut Marko had his words.
I didn't hear what Marco said, but I did
He just
listen
said he just
to.
said that he made a stupid mistake and he needs to be smarter, pretty much.
Yeah, I did listen to the WTF1 podcast that came out today with Yuki, and honestly, I think that's just rookie. I think that he's very aggressive and he wants to be on the pace right away. I think he was comparing himself to Pierre way too much to Pierre at first, and just pushing too much. And I think it came out this week where he said that he wasn't going to try and compare himself to Gasly anymore, and he was just going to do his own thing, and that'll be good for him. I think he just needs to like take a couple deep breaths, um, slow things down a little bit, and he'll be fine. Like he doesn't need to be constantly pushing and trying to be the third fastest. He might have the third fastest car out there. Like that's a possibility that AlphaTauri has the third fastest car, but that doesn't mean that he needs to do that. He needs to rack up consistent points, get the experience in F1. He's a very, very inexperienced driver in a car whatsoever, F1 aside. He just a long time in a kart, but not a lot of time in a car. Um, you know, just get that experience, calm down, and he'll be fine.
Fair enough. Smart, good words from a very experienced young man like yourself. So now I think we can cap Imola and move on to Portugal, and get into probably one of the most boring races I've ever seen in my entire freaking life. Oh man, the Bruins beat the Rangers 4-0. That's rough. But
Bro,
yeah,
can you stop talking about other sports in our damn
why? I can
racing
be a fan of
podcast?
multiple sports. I love my racing. I watch racing all weekend. But Wednesday night when the Rangers are on NBC Sports Network, I'm gonna watch a game, bro. So I was watching it before we sat down right here. But my thing about Portugal, I thought it was a very boring race. Hamilton was dominant, and I wasn't going to start with Hamilton, but I think this was I want to talk about this because we kind of just finished Imola, and where Imola, he put it in the wall and he made a mistake for the first time, and I don't know how long you'd seen Hamilton make a mistake, but he was dominant. And I think that this was his way of making a statement to Verstappen and all the other challengers that, like, hey, I'm still here. Yeah, I
Yeah.
jacked it up last race, but we're not going anywhere. We're still gunning for this number 8, and I think he was phenomenal. What do you think?
No, absolutely. I mean, listen, he may be, you know, a 7-time world champion and six championships with a Mercedes, but there's a reason why it was him that did all that winning. Like he's talented, and he showed that again, you know, at Portimao. I love that racetrack, by the way. I just love the undulation. But yeah, after after what the first 10, 15 laps was a little bit boring, but um, I enjoyed the race. Not the most. I'm sure it won't be the most boring. That'll probably go to Spain this weekend.
You hate Spain so bad.
I do. Spain and Russia. Oh my goodness. I gotta put toothpicks in my eyes to like stay awake.
My thing is this, though,
That's how
and
boring those races
that's
are.
rough, dude. My thing is this about Hamilton, and the reason why last year I didn't rank him the best driver in Formula One was mainly because he
You're a
didn't.
hater.
No, fuck you. He didn't show me anything. Remember, we talked about how he had the greatest car and nobody ever really
Yeah.
tested him. Well, this time he has found his test, and even though he made a mistake at Imola, at Portugal, he was dominant. And I'm pretty interested to see how he races the rest of the season. If Verstappen can continue to try to get him a little rattled, I think he's got a. I think Verstappen has to maybe not talk a little smack, because I don't really think Verstappen's a smack talker, but maybe some stare downs, maybe some podium, some looks and stuff like that. Try to get in his head a little bit, and I think that might work, but that remains to be seen.
Yeah.
There's something I really want to talk about that could be something, but probably isn't. And that's team orders at Ferrari. I heard that Sainz was given team orders to pretty much let Leclerc through, or I think he pit
Yeah,
stopped first or
I
something.
listened to the radio messages. Yeah.
You listened to all those. So they do we see this as a one-off? This is the question I have. Do we see
No.
this as a one-off, or is this like a clear message to Sainz, like, hey, you're number two, we know who our number one is, expect to see this for the rest of the season?
Well, here's the thing. I wouldn't go that far. I would say that I think Ferrari was trying to take advantage of possibly having a faster driver behind another one that wasn't doing so well. And the reason I say that is, Leclerc was starting to say, I think I could go faster. So then they got on the horn to Sainz and said, push. And then they went, and then Leclerc goes, I definitely can go faster. And then, Sainz is saying like, listen, he goes, I'm going, flat out. I'm pushing as much as I can. And then when they finally give the order to do the switch, Sainz then says, why? I'm going through some graining on the tires, but the pace will come back to me. The
Hmm.
thing is Leclerc had the pace right then and there, and therefore they called for the switch. I wouldn't say that it's, a number one, number two call. I would say Ferrari possibly trying to actually take advantage of the moment and not holding up their faster driver. Not saying Leclerc is faster than Sainz, saying that
At
at
that
that time,
time.
because of what Sainz was going through, Leclerc was faster.
All right, I can see where you're going with that. So we at the Bearded Garagistas will try not to think into that one too much then. Personally,
Subject to be determined.
subject to be determined. That's what I'm saying. So this was a race that I really thought, I don't know what that robot sound right there was, but this was this was a race that I really thought Red Bull needed to win. I called Portugal a must win for Red Bull. And the reason why I said that was they needed to make a statement. Uh, Perez was great in qualifying. Verstappen was great in qualifying, had a little hiccup in qualifying, but he was great in qualifying and still finished way up at the top. And I think that this was a race that they really needed to show Hamilton, show the rest of the grid that Verstappen's, here, and we can do a back-to-back win if needed. Whether it was Verstappen that won or Perez, I really think Red Bull needed to make a statement this weekend, and they really let this one get away from them.
Well, the problem is I mean, and it could just be that talk that F1 team principals do. But Christian Horner was saying coming into Portimao that this was not a track that was going to suit them, that Mercedes at that track was for sure, no doubt about it, the favorites, and that it was a surprise that Verstappen was able to be as competitive as he was and still potentially vie for pole position.
Let's get it clear
So
now.
if that, but wait,
No
but
one's
if
shocked at
that's the
Verstappen
case,
anymore.
but if that's the case, then they should show up this weekend at Spain, because Spain is it's a high downforce track. Yes, it's similar to Portimao, but at Spain it's a more high downforce track, which will suit Red Bull. So we'll see, what's really what. My issue, if I may talk about what
Go
we
ahead.
had talked about before,
Sure.
and hitting on Red Bull is what Red Bull is saying right now. They're going around saying track limits cost us a win at Bahrain. They cost us pole position at Portimao, and then they cost us a point for fastest lap at Portimao later on. Okay.
They're right.
Now, well, so here's the thing. At Bahrain, I don't think that entirely was their fault. Um, I do, like we talked about, agree that Verstappen had to give that spot back simply because it has always been the case that if you overtake off the track, you have to give it back. We've had that argument. Moving on.
Blah, blah, blah.
What I'm upset about is it seems to me that nobody at Red Bull is reading the notes from the race director during the course of the weekend, because what always ends up happening is they set the track limits going into an event, and then after Friday all the drivers start bitching about track limits, and the race director ends up making a change, and they put it out in the race director's notes. And from what I've been told, that is, very large font, very pink font, so that people do not miss it. And that it's in those notes where at Bahrain, they said track, at turn 4, during quali in the race, you can go out, or not during quali, but during the race, you can go out there to your heart's delight. And Red Bull missed that, and Verstappen missed that until they said Verstappen said, I thought you couldn't go out that.
I get it. I get that Red Bull missed it.
So then they go to Portimao, and they were going into the event, they were looking at turn 15, but they were not looking at turn 14. But in the race director's notes, that changed to where they were looking at turn 14. And when Verstappen was doing his fastest lap at the end of the race, it was turn 14 that he went outside track limits. They were doing the interview at the end, and Paul di Resta says, well, you lost it because you went beyond track limits. And Verstappen, you know what he says? He goes, I thought they weren't looking at track limits there. So that tells me right away that he didn't look at the race director's notes, and possibly nobody at Red Bull was looking at the race director's notes.
I get it.
That's key information.
But how about this?
I don't like it.
How about they make the track settings? They don't fucking change them. They keep them in between the white fucking lines and keep all 4 tires on the track. Simple.
I am so with you. I am 110% with you. But until that happens at that level to win championships, you can't miss the race director's notes.
I get it. But you know what?
Every point
how about
matters.
MotoGP? MotoGP, they got a sensor on the fucking bike. If they go off the track, they get a penalty. Period. Doesn't matter. Censored.
Bro.
This should not be an argument, and I know you're with me. This shouldn't be an argument with anybody. This whole, you can go off the track. Bro, the tracks used to be lined with curbs. The tracks used to be lined with grass. If you go off the track, that's it, it's over. If you go into the gravel, that's it, it's over. The hell with this whole shit. It put gravel
one
there.
of the most frustrating parts is, okay, this turn it's white line. The next turn it's the red and white curbs. The next turn we're not even
How are you supposed to remember that shit?
That's ridiculous.
No, it should be put gravel on the outside of the turn. Fuck all this runoff bullshit, and make it. Sometimes you might have to make it dangerous. So you move the wall back a little bit on the outside of the turn.
They can't do that because of MotoGP guys. That's why they can't do it. It's not safe for the bikes.
Unreal. Then put red and white, and then put gravel, and the bikes will have to learn too.
You and I need to come up with a way to have gravel traps, and then when MotoGP goes there, there's some kind of thing that goes over the gravel trap.
Bro,
and covers it up.
You don't need that shit. You just do the tire pit like when you were in the military. When I was in basic training, we had a tire pit. If a car hit it, it wouldn't be good. A motorcycle can straighten up and drive right over it. Boom, solved. Tire pit. Moving on. Let's talk about Alonso making progress. I will say that the Alpine's pace was pretty atrocious. Alpine, I'm fucking sorry I did it. Alpine's pace was atrocious for up until right about Portugal. And then it seems like Alonso was able to make some moves and make some passes on people. Is this a one-off from Alpine, or is this something that we can see?
What's funny is Ocon in an interview leading up to Spain was saying, we need to understand why we were fast at Portugal.
So they don't even know. They don't even know why they were fast at Portugal.
They need to understand why they were fast at Portimao. So I think Renault has some work to do. Their other teams were saying that they're surprised about how fast the Renault power unit was down the straights. Ocon was saying that, well, I don't know why they're saying that, because we're actually slower than we were last year down the straights. But that said, from what I hear is the Renault power unit lays down its power different than, any other engine out there. So I mean that's why they think it's so difficult for Danny Rick, leaving the Renault power unit for the first time. But
so do you see this continuing?
I'm really happy about seeing Alonso, and I think it's just going to be time until, I don't think he's going to, just destroy Esteban Ocon like a lot of people preseason were thinking, but I think it'll get to the point where he'll be able to vie back and forth for grid positions in qualifying and in the race.
All right. So do you see Alpine, finding out what the golden goose was at Portugal and riding that to the end?
No.
So this was probably
I think
one-off.
I think it's going to be a lot of what it was last year for them, which last year they may have had 3 podiums, but it was basically they're shit at this track, they're shit at this track, they're shit at this track, and wait, they're really good at this one. Shit, really good, shit, really good, end the season.
Tell us how you really feel, bro.
But I mean,
shit.
Podium, shit, podium, shit, podium, end the season.
That was pretty good. Let's talk about more shit. And Aston Martin.
Oh my goodness, you said it.
Are they wrapped up enough in this conspiracy, or do they have to wrap themselves up even more into a conspiracy before they actually start racing well?
I'm so tired of hearing the bitching. Just listen to me. And here's why. It may be that the new rules hurt the lower rate cars more than the higher rate cars. But you know what? I'm going to tell you this.
You did the dumb move at the wrong time?
Before they went out and copied the Mercedes, do you know what they had? You know what they had? They had a high rake philosophy copying the Red Bulls. That's your own fucking fault, guys. You went out and had this ingenious idea to copy Mercedes, which would have been great if it was only 2020 and the new rules came in 2021. But a wonderful thing called COVID came. Sarcasm.
You got to add that in here
Felt
nowadays.
the need to add that. Yeah. And then what? Now you're going to bitch that you copied the championship winning car and ooh boo hoo, it hurt you. Like, listen, you had a high rate car. You could have been up there in 2021.
They're not. Well, Mercedes isn't struggling.
The high road in 2020. Well, you know how much they are. They are.
Yeah, they are. But they're like 2 seconds slower.
But what they normally are.
But still,
they have ungodly resources and talent. Even with the cost cap, the talent that they have in that team allows them to make up that difference to where Red Bull's not spanking that ass.
I'm just sick of the bitching. Bro, I love you. I fucking love you. That was great.
Because, no, any other team, I'd be like, listen, I hear you. But they went from a high rake philosophy, copied the champions, did really well, lost out P3 in the championship because of themselves, right? Because they didn't perform well.
Yeah.
Up to what they should have done. They should have been P3 in the championship last year. Then it comes out and there's a rule change and, oh no, high rake, blah, blah, blah. Well, you were high rake. You decided to go down a different road. That's your fault.
All right, so we're going to talk about two more
done.
disappointing things. I digress. We'll talk about two more disappointing things, and then we'll kind of, top it off with something good.
Why are you so negative?
Two negatives and a positive is good. The humans will thrill a destruction and yawn a creation, and that is plain and simple. So we were going to go over the destructions first. And my biggest upset and what really pissed me off a lot, I love to see Russell qualify in 11th. I hated to see Russell at Portugal because he sucked.
So
he said he was bad in traffic and the car drove completely differently when he was behind another car. But Jesus.
It just came out, or at least I just heard in all the lead ups to this weekend, that Williams found out why Russell did so bad, and there was an issue with the car.
Oh, get out of here. They just happened to find an issue with the car.
Well,
Toto Wolff didn't put in a phone call saying, hey, listen, you guys had a problem with the car, right? You guys had a problem with the car, right?
Who knows? Well, Will Buxton is saying that Williams came out and said that they found an issue with the car, and that's why Russell had so much issues in the race.
All right. I mean, I hope so, because
whether you believe it is another story.
Well, we'll see at Spain. We'll see at Spain, because obviously if they know what the problem is, they can fix the problem. He better not be shit in Spain. I'll be really upset. And then Mazepin. Should he still be in Formula One? He was a minute behind the slowest person. Did his teammate lap him?
Yo, so close to lapping him.
I feel bad for him, because now it's gotten to a point where I'm like, oh, this is getting a little ridiculous. But
did you see?
He doesn't deserve to be there. At least Papa Stroll puts his son in there and pays the money, and his son actually is competitive.
Lance is good. Lance is fast. Let's be serious. But Lance has won a lot in other categories. Yes, Mazepin is a race winner in other categories, but I don't think he ever vied for championships in other categories like Lance has. Now, what was hysterical in a sad way is, did you see all the memes when they came out and gave Mazepin a 5-second penalty for holding up Perez because of the blue flags?
Well, he did.
It's the guy. Well, I know, but he's over a minute behind, right? He's a minute off the pace, and you give him a 5-second penalty. Like, what does that do? So all the memes was the guy in the swimming pool putting a bottle of water over his head. Hysterical.
I'm not gonna lie to you; it was pretty rough, and I'm almost starting to feel bad for Mazepin. It just, I don't think it doesn't warrant the backlash how bad it is. Like, the internet is just savage, and
yes,
as much as I agree he doesn't deserve the seat, as much as I would like to see him move out of the seat, immediately, we know that's not going to happen. There's too much money wrapped up in it, and I mean, you know what? Hats off to the kid. We're all, that little bit jealous that our dad doesn't have enough money to put us in a Formula One seat. So,
absolutely,
let's not kid ourselves. But we all know the truth. All right, and
I give it to him. I mean, listen, he needs time. I'm not one of those people that's going to be here and saying he needs to be gone. He needs to be gone. He, doesn't deserve to be there one iota. The problem is there's more qualifying people than him. Is he qualified for F1? Yeah, he has the super license points. He is a race winner in F2. He has the money, and therefore he has a right to be there. He has a right to suck, but he has a right to be there. The issue is that
I did not see that coming.
The issue is that there's a lot of racers out there, Callum Ilott for one, who would do better in that seat, theoretically, would do a lot better in that seat. But you know what? He deserves time to get accustomed to F1 and see what he could do.
All right. I mean, you're nicer than I am. I don't agree with you.
I don't have faith in him.
but he deserves a shot.
Right.
All right. You're so noble and honorable. Let's talk about his teammate a little bit. because I think he's squeezing everything out of that Haas he possibly can. He's battling Latifi, who was in 100% a faster car.
Yep.
What do we say about Schumacher? Is this the same? I feel like, you know what? I say this is the same Schumacher you saw on what? Go. Why?
You're going to ask me a question and then you go, I say this. Okay.
Nobody wants to hear what you say. You say what I say. No, but I would say that he's showing what he did in Formula 2. In Formula 2, he was never blazingly fast, but he was consistently good. And that consistency is what you need to be a Formula 1 champion. And he's showing that. He's consistently getting a poor car to the front. Yes, he makes little mistakes here and there, spinning it in the, by the pit exit and blocking himself from getting back into the pits. Probably not the greatest show ever, but I would say that he is, yes, he's making those rookie mistakes, but at least he's making them now, and let's hope he grows out of them, because I really am starting to think that he could really do something here.
Well, he always does better second year than first year. And even if he has a sophomore slump, he has shown that he learns from what he progresses, is what I'm trying to say. Is he has a history of doing that, where he does not do well his first year in a series. He does exceptionally better his second, season. And in F1, he's going to have more years beyond that to progress and do better. I do think that Mick has a bright future, especially with how quick he is taking to it and how dominant he has been over his teammate. Say what you will about the teammate, he's still being dominant. All right. Now, the other thing that I'll just throw in, because I heard this not too long ago, and it ties in because it shows to Schumacher's consistency. But if an F2 last year did not have the sprint races where they do that stupid reverse grid, I like the reverse grid, but it's stupid. It's a contradiction, but whatever. So basically, if they didn't do the sprint races and it was only based off of quali and feature race, you know who would have been champion?
Who?
Yuki Tsunoda. Because based off quali and race, Yuki Tsunoda won, I think, the most and was near the top the most. Now, the problem with that is then when you go to the sprint race, guess who's starting 8th, 7th, and 6th? Yuki Tsunoda, instead of starting near the front. Now, if you're Mick Schumacher and you're getting a win here and there, a second place, third place, fourth place in
just
the feature
Just have
race,
to be consistent, baby.
Now you're starting, 4th, 5th, or 6th in the sprint race and able to work up. So there goes that consistency again.
I want to say that there has been a championship winner without winning a race in the season. Has that
what,
ever?
An F1?
Yeah.
No, there's been 2 instances where 2 champions have won once. One was KK Rosberg. He won 1 race.
Your favorite.
And yeah. And the other one, I'm drawing a blank on at the moment. Oh, I'm going to kick myself.
I could have sworn there was
one. Basically, there's 2 champions where they won 1 race.
Damn. All right. Well, that's all we got for you on Imola and Portugal. We will be back hopefully after the Spain race to do just a Spain talk.
Try and stay awake.
If it's thrilling enough, we're going to try and stay awake and use the toothpicks like my brother said. Sniff some hand sanitizer to keep you awake. Those are from my military buddies. And yeah, that's all we got. Like and subscribe, follow us, talk to us, hit us up on the socials. We'll see you guys later. Peace.
Peace.